Hello everybody, it is me, GamePaker21, and today, oh boy, looks like we're going to be talking about some more salty fanboys. Much like how the rest of the people have probably talked about on your feed already, the God of War Ragnarok PC specs have been shown off by Sony. This game is now about a month out from when this video will currently be uploaded, so do keep that in mind as these PC specs might change, though they seem to not be. Of course, a lot of people have been talking about various different things, and much like most things, the PlayStation fanboys have decided to get angry about more games coming to PC, despite the fact that they said that they would. So, very strange. But of course, we have to talk about this specifically, as there are two particular topics to talk about, one being the PlayStation fanboys' PC salt, but more importantly, about what specifically is being criticized about this specific PC port, because there are a couple criticisms to it, which I will get into. But before we do that, very quickly, if you can hit a like and a favorite and subscribe and stuff, and hit all the stuff that people say to do, that would be awesome. And I love and appreciate you. A comment would also be nice. If you want to check out me in other ways, shapes, or forms, links down to everything in the description below. Streaming on Twitch, and I do have a Bandcamp for stuff. In any case, let's get started. So, of course, this is from Pirate Nation, but this is from the official PlayStation one. I just couldn't happen to find that specifically. So, yeah. But the God of War PC specs are now officially out by them and will be released around September 19th. So, again, around about a month from the upload of this video. So, what exactly is this? Looking through the specs, they don't seem too bad. I mean, the lowest specs seem to require, say, a GTX 1060, an i5, a Ryzen 3 with 8GB of RAM, and, of course, standard operating procedures and stuff. And, of course, the recommended and the higher ends do have RTX series cards with up to RX 5 and 6th gen type stuff, with, of course, 5th and 6th gen RX and 7 and 8 gen, I think, of i5s. I forget specifically how to read that. But the biggest problem that you might see at the bottom of this page here is that, of course, he points out that this game requires 190 gigabytes of the actual stuff. Now, to put that into a little bit of an interesting perspective here, he does do Sekiro, which is around 25 gigabytes, but to use an even more interesting perspective here, I decided to look through my Steam library and decide what of some of my biggest games were. Now, the biggest game that I currently have in my library that's installed is actually Half-Life Alyx at 67 gigabytes. That's a VR game with a lot of source spaghetti and stuff like that, and it's made by Valve, so they're pretty good at that. I determined that it would take 4 games to equal 190 gigabytes. Those 4 games that are the ones in my library that I have is Half-Life Alyx, Dying Light 2, and the base version of Elden Ring with Bone Lab on top of it. All 4 of those games equal around 190 gigabytes. I think maybe a little bit more because there's like point whatever on there, but we're just going to round it off to the nearest ones here just for the sake of, convenience to understand. But those are 4 games that equate out to roughly 190 gigabytes, whereas this is one game that requires 190 gigabytes. So, yeah. But also, one thing that we also need to not forget here is that Pirate Nation also had another thing to say about that, and that is apparently that it's also going to be done to the same region locks as well, which, of course, this shouldn't be too much of big news, and I'm going to try to brush past this at least kind of, because the 190 gigabyte thing is being talked about a lot more. Plus, there also may or may not be a PSN requirement for this one in particular. Hard to say at this point. It might be optional, it might be not. We'll see when it releases. But going through some of the comments and the replies here, there were a couple that actually caught my eye. One that was a tweet for someone else, but one that was a reply to the actual tweet itself, with Milhey Andizov, with a reasonable requirements, played it this 3 times on my PlayStation 5, highly recommended. I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not, because, again, while the reasonable specs-wise are fine, it's the storage to me that's the biggest problem here. Again, 190 gigabytes for one game. Very, very strange. But next up, of course, we have Dante here with his prerequisite, I'm going to just be a salty bitch take of talking about how the 190 gigabytes of Stalker 2, where they have all these other games that, again, all three of those other games are not released either. And I'm fairly certain that he's supposed to be making fun of, I don't know if it's supposed to be making fun of PC guys or not, despite the fact that Stalker 2 will probably come out on PC, with Wukong and Space Marines also coming out on PC as well. So, unsure. But moving forward, we now get to the PlayStation blog version of this video, and this is where most of the salt is actually seemingly coming from, and let me just say, it is potent. But we have to start off with an interesting comment here that was one of the top comments of the actual thing, where it says, all these PC releases make the console more and more irrelevant, just like it happened with Xbox. Love it. You love to see how it's subtle, but the salt is there. And these are a couple of responses to that. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, as this does look like a complete and utter fucking essay here. But basically, Kaze comes back with, in all fairness, the PS5 makes this release irrelevant. Then he's been playing the game already and have no need to play it again so soon. Busy with other PS5s like Stellar Blade and Final Fantasy. It's the same arguments of waiting years for games on PC and not even getting a physical copy. Yeah, hard pass. Especially when my 3080 is barely going to edge out my PS5, may continue not after the fact. Despite the fact that a 3080 absolutely blows the shit out of a PlayStation 5, but whatever. What neglect, again, basically saying that, oh, there's more time between the PS5 and PC releases of games. He says, I'd like to see more time between PC and PS5 releases of the games, even though, like, there's less and less time between some of these PC releases of the games, even some of them that are coming day and date. Looking at you, LEGO Horizons, I probably would want to pick that up, not for any particular reason, just because I think it looks actually fun. And he says, you're applying your reality to everyone else. PS5 lacks tentpole exclusives today, and Sony keeps giving games to PC and making their platform more and more undesirable. I mean, in some contexts, maybe, but I mean, in other contexts, they've already lost a lot of the PC, or at least a fair amount of the PC market by their decisions of like Helldivers 2, and that seems to have been one of the big linchpins that kind of pulled to release the water here. I know that I won't be buying God of War Ragnarok, even though I kind of wanted to. I haven't even picked up the original God of War, and to be fair, the only ones that I have are Horizon Zero Dawn, which I only played for about 20 minutes, got bored of it, and about an hour for the original Spider-Man remastered, so overall, Next up here, we have Kaze again with a no Steam Deck spec. What about the ability to play without a PSN interface getting in the way? If you're going to pretend to be third-party on PC, learn from EA, Ubi, Active, and Blizz, and the other launchers' mistakes. Don't put me in a position where I'm mid-fight on an airplane or a dead zone and can't spin the game up again because of a crap DRM like EA did to me recently with Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Not a fun experience to deal with the lazy launcher design that decides it's better than the Steam launcher, which has been around for almost 2.5 decades. I like the fact that he comes at it from this angle and was able to put this comment out, but if we look at his previous comment, he basically said, no, my PC is better. And, of course, he also has a Steam Deck and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, why do you not need this and blah, blah, blah. If you're complaining about something like a PSN interface or the lack of Steam Deck support, I don't think you also get to complain about the fact of how PS5 is apparently better. That just seems very strange to me, and I don't know why. But moving on here, we have another one from Andrew Squall, who we'll see again in a couple times. But again, he has a bunch of different things where this is a response to a different comment that I don't think that I got, where Sony was where it was talking about how Sony's releases have been getting more and more degraded over the years, where he says that you're wrong. Every PlayStation gen Sony somehow manages to top the last game technologically. Sony Studios and game engines practically competing with themselves. You think Ratchet and Clank was great looking? Check out Uncharted 4, which is an older game. Gravity Rush 2 comes out, then Juggernaut Horizon Zero Dawn, which I believe was actually buried by Elden Ring, or buried by... Was it? It wasn't Elden Ring. I know that was the sequel. That was actually the sequel. The sequel of Horizon Forbidden West was buried by it, but Horizon Zero Dawn came out very close to, I think, Tears of the Kingdom, which actually buried the other game. And God of War 2018, surely they can't push that mobile processor in the PlayStation 4 any more than that. And I mean, God of War 2018 is also available on a Steam Deck now. Spider-Man, Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, they pushed out the console right up to the PS5. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima is also now on the PlayStation, or is also now here. And again, most of those are also on PC. So, yeah. None of these games would have played the way that they did had they been told you're bringing these games to average PCs too when they each started development. I mean, okay. What about games like Helldivers 2 and the Lego Horizon game, as well as I think a couple other ones that are coming out day and date to PC? So it's like, a cross-system platform will kill technological creativity. Spider-Man 2, a PS5-only game, looked all right compared to the first one, and that's the problem. We all know why it just looks all right, so it can come to PC with as little problems as possible. Problems like what Horizon Zero Dawn faced on PC when grass rendering never ever worked on because it never intended to when they working on the metal. Can you learn some punctuation appropriately? That's a very big run-on sentence. Basically, this guy is saying, "Oh, they're doing it and focusing on the one, and it sells systems and blah blah blah." So, yeah. Look, I'm not going to debunk everything here, but the fact of the matter is most of the games that you just listed, apart from, I think, Last of Us 2 and maybe one or two more, all of those games are now on PC. All of them can run on a PC very efficiently, and the Spider-Man 2 port, or the Spider-Man 2 sequel, I don't think was meant to initially run on PC. I don't think that they would have done that because, again, they wanted to make it exclusive for a couple years and then port it over. Why do the work now when you can do it work at least later and waste less money and waste less time to try to get the game out the door for, Spider-Man 2? And everyone's like, "Oh, they're downgrading it for the average PC. They're downgrading it." It's not even that. It might have something to do with even worse stuff, or there might just be bad management or something happening there. You don't know. It's very strange for me. But next up here, we have Stone's Throw with a very interesting take that I'm going to be talking about with a huge mistake for the PlayStation 5, for the PlayStation gamer point of view. First-party exclusives are the lifeblood of a console. The whole generation, you've been forced to feeding us PC ports while stalling your first-party output to a halt. It's embarrassing how you've managed to destroy decades of trust in a half a generation. It's just wild to me how people have literally had these games and how, again, these PlayStation fanboys will always say, the game is the lifeblood and the exclusives are then blah, blah, blah. I would say that the only one where that's even kind of true is the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo in general, because they make good games that show the extensive of the hardware and I'm not saying that Sony doesn't do that, but I don't know. It's just, to me, people realize that these games can run on other things, and why is it that the game being exclusive to the platform to have less upfront purchases or have less of a growth potential is a good thing? It's always very strange to me. Zanfir also then comes back with also replies to this comment above where they couldn't have put it better myself. I've been seeing clips on YouTube that harken back to the E3 PS4 days, and holy moly, were those glorious times. Even thinking about the later E3 PS3 days were so good, so much variety and first-party exclusives. Games, people can moan all they want about gamers wanting exclusives to stay on a console ecosystem, but exclusives are the main selling point of consoles. They really shouldn't be, at least in my opinion. I think that the console should at least provide a good service to the person involved when you're purchasing it. Yeah, the exclusives can be good, and I wouldn't say, hey, stop exclusives altogether, because some people might come for those specific games. But if you literally define your entire console by 1 to 2 or maybe even 5 specific games or game series, you might have a little bit of a problem. I don't know. And again, I know that I said earlier that Nintendo doesn't have that problem. I think that they do, and they have other problems on top of that. But Nintendo is a more special case because they at least understand their place in the market. They understand that they're not going to be a person's first pick when it comes to being the best console or the best everything. They have their own little corner, and they're happy to abide by the people in the audience in the niche of which they fill. PlayStation wants everything. So, Next up here, we have someone complaining about the PlayStation account requirements, and then Zanfir comes back with and then they also want DRM to it. Again, talking about how this will basically be the one thing of problematic on this. It says, don't like it, then don't buy it. Vote with your wallet. So show Sony that exclusives shouldn't be going to PC. I like how you can look at this, right? This person complaining about the remove PlayStation account requirement on the PC, and a PlayStation account isn't even required to play the retail version of your games on your own console, and why DRM, why is that added DRM going to the PC version? I love how you can look at this comment, which is clearly saying, hey, stop with the whole PlayStation account network bullshit, but he says show them that exclusives shouldn't be going to the PC. He's not saying that. He's saying that if you get rid of this, you would have better things. He's not saying don't put this on PC. Very strange. He also then talks about the please remove PlayStation Plus requirement for online multiplayer. Why should we have to pay to play online while PC gets all the same games to play for free? Treating us like dirt. Days never buying another Sony product again. This is, again, under I think the same requirement thing. And again, it follows a similar logic. Don't actually pay to play for online, at least for this one. I don't know if it's a good business practice. Couldn't see that it's a good business practice, so whatever. But then he says, don't like it, then don't buy it, which is clearly what most PC users do anyway, since it will take 10 years for a PlayStation game to come onto PC to reach the same sales it did on its PlayStation release in just 5 days, lol. I mean, again, that's taking this whole thing completely out of context, where he says, it's going to take 10 years for the PlayStation game to reach the number of sales that it does on the release in 5 days. Yeah, because the original, if you had it day and date, you would have those sales added on top of it, and you would make more money, because you can group the PC gamers who have a lot of buying power out on top. And of course, I told you that Animal Squall was going to come back here. So, obviously, if the game comes out years and years later after the hype cycle has died down and everyone has already seen everything the game has to offer, obviously they're not going to buy the game because they don't feel like it's worth their time to actually do it since they know everything about it. If it was a new product, sure, absolutely, but they're re-releasing old products, so it's Next up here, we have more PC announcements. Sony sucks. All PC elitists want to do is pirate the game, and they don't want DRM. They also don't want Sony account, so that should tell you something. Yeah, that Sony is making a bad decision by not only doing that, but also, again, region locking the game out of like 100+ countries in the world. So, anyway, for the PC players, Kratos kills the bad guys, becomes friends with Freya, and boy goes off on his own adventure at the end. Oh my god, posting spoilers on a PlayStation blog website. That's a lot of PlayStation people would probably have access to. Good stuff. Good stuff. Also, the game's like years old. But then we have an entire few takes from Andrew Squall here, which I'll just kind of blast through because we're, again, getting into that 20-minute mark, so I have to be quick about this. So Andrew Squall comes back with a what on earth did you expect when you're getting a PS5 game on a PC less than 2 years since it came out. You want older games on PC that look stunning. Those are the specs. Who else is making PC exclusives that come even 50% closer to what Ghost of Tsushima was on PS4? Just using the ones that I have in my library. Half-Life Alyx, Dying Light 2, Stay Human's pretty solid. Again, Elden Ring here. The Finals, which came out very recently, it still looks very stunning, and that's more of a modern game, so that's fine. Portal 2 still looks really good for it. Even Bone Lab, I think, also has the same sort of stuff. But even still, like, there's a lot of games on here that I'm looking at that are just good stylistic wise, like Dusk, for instance, or Forgive Me Father 1 or 2 that I have here, or even Team Fortress 2, which is about 10 years old at this point. Hunt Showdown also, by the way, is also on PC, and I'd say that it comes pretty close to a lot of the graphical fidelity that this person, Andrew, is talking about. He then says, replying to this person, says, in replies to some of the other comments here, the RTX 3080 blows the PS5 out of the water, which it does. And then he says, in replies to some of the other comments, nobody asked, lol, but here is a better reply to you. Cool. What exclusive PC games outperform PS5 games? Most of them. Like, 99% of them, because 99% of them can go above frame rates of 60 FPS, can have better graphical fidelity than what they have here, can even have a lot of the same stuff at that higher frame rate. Starfield, Blacklist Mafia, Taxi Rush, putting that GPU to exclusive use, lol. I mean, looking at all of that, just like, dude, expand your horizons a little bit. Again, what about games like The Finals, which, yeah, it's a multi-platform, but again, what about games like Half-Life Alyx, which is a VR game, or games like, I think, Black Mesa, which is an exclusive as well. What another one here? Bolt Gun, but that's not that. That's actually not true. Can't really think of anything else here. There's several, but I can't think of them, and I need to move on from this. But yeah, what PC exclusives outperform PS5 games? Practically all of them, because all of them can perform better on paper because they can go above 30 FPS for like 99% of the time. And that's it. That's all the screenshots that I have. Oh boy, so what did we learn today? Well, we learned today that a lot of the PlayStation guys are salty, salty children about the PlayStation games still coming to, still coming to PC. It's always funny to me how many people here actively, like, really do try and very much so justify why things are there, or why things are the way that they are, without taking a stop to realize that maybe, just maybe, that the tide is shifting and the market is shifting in such a way that exclusives aren't as good to produce anymore. They just don't think that that's not an option. Very strange to me. But I think that'll about do it, and again, don't be a fanboy, guys. Please don't. With all that being said, if you like what it is that I do, want support me in any way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. I do stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/GamePenguin21. I do also have a Bandcamp, link down in the description below, to go and get some music, go and listen to some music of me playing live on places such as Twitch, which I might not be doing for a longer time because Twitch is starting to ban, well, DJ live streams, which kind of sucks. But also, in concurrence to that, one of my newer albums, which still doesn't have a name quite yet, might be coming out fairly soon. I probably will stop talking about it until I get closer to the release, as well as having the actual video up. So, yeah. With all that being said, again, if you like what it is that I do, want to support me anyway, I already said that bit. Again, my name is GamePango21. Thank you all so much for watching. Never be a fanboy, guys, and a peace off.